Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mom and Co podcast. My name is Bopa and I am your host. Today it is just me. Last week we were on episode 3 where Soli and I were together in Cabo and we decided to film that episode called The Lonely Road. And in that specific episode, we kind of talk about what solitude gave us. So if you missed it and you want to catch up on it, go back. Go back and listen to it. It's a good one, a very, very good one. And as much as I would love to have Soli join me on every single episode, he doesn't have the capacity, which I understand. It is partly the reason why I have this podcast on my own. When I committed to making some changes in my life, I recognized one of the things that I was not good at was taking action from like this dream. I live in La La Land a lot. I have so many things in my mind, but I never really like went for it. I was always scared of something, and so being able to do this on my own is very liberating, and I love it. And I love that I can bring other people on when I want to, but also I feel confident talking to myself in a room to the camera, and someone will listen to it. And so I'm going to go straight into the topic of conversation. So, during my journey in 2024, I decided to challenge myself. I was like, you know what? I need a little bit more push. Like, I feel like I've gotten in the rhythm. I started this in 2023, and I thought, I'm going to do 75 hard. And the 75 hard challenge is, hopefully I can remember it. You exercise outside for 45 minutes. You exercise outside or inside for another 45 minutes. They have to be 3 hours apart. You have to read 10 pages of a book, of like a self-help book. And you have to take a photo, like a daily photo, and you have to choose a like diet of choice. So it could be whatever it may be. And I've tried it before. I've done it in 2022, and I failed the first day. And I am actually going to read something that I actually wrote about it because I thought that me not taking a photo of myself would actually be, I can get away with it. But when I really stopped to think about it, when I did it the second time around and really went so far with it, I realized like that small little thing that I thought wasn't a huge difference actually was one of the biggest difference for me personally, because it led me back to so many things that I've kind of buried and never talked about, never shared. And so I'll go into that as well too, because I wrote about it. And so I chose some of my journal writings that I'm going to read on this episode because I feel like I want to go back and read from that moment and then kind of touch base on how I feel today in 2025. Um, so during that 75 hard, it was, I couldn't believe like how much I was ready for it. It was, I was already doing it when in 2023, when I decided to commit myself to bettering myself. And in this very moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try that 75 hard again. And it was just so natural for me. And then of course, as we're in it, I decided to also do it during the winter months in Iowa. So as you know, in Iowa, we have very cold winter months. And I did it. I started January 1st, and I knew that bad weather would come, but I was ready for it. I was like hungry for it. And I remember one time where I think it was like negative something, and it was gonna be icy, and all I could think about was like, gosh, I'm going to fail. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And so, like, Facebook and me are friends. And so I do like to go on Facebook. It's one of my favorite social media parts. And I went on there and I like asked for advice. And I was like, I told them what I was doing. And I was like, do you have any advice, and people just chimed in and chimed in. And some of the things that I read was, you're not supposed to be outside more than 30 minutes. And then of course, like, my literal mind is like, okay, well, I have to be out there for 45 minutes. Am I going to just fail then? Like, I was so scared of everything I was reading, and I was scared of someone saying something about like hypothermia, all these things. And like, I was just like, okay, you know what? Why did I just go on Facebook and ask for advice and scared the crap out of myself when I am trying to like face all of my fears? And yet I am now afraid again because I'm listening to outside noise. So I was like, okay, thank you for all the advice, but I'm just gonna try it myself. So then I Googled, what do you wear when it's icy? And they said you have to get one of those, I don't know what they're called, but they like go over your boots. So I got one of those at Costco, and I got all these layers, and I was like really ready for anything that was coming my way. I had face mask, I had everything ready for the 75 hard. I recognized that when I did go out there, it wasn't as scary as people made it for me, or I made it for myself. And I remember telling myself too, like, if I go out there and if I can't be out for 45 minutes on this walk, like, I'll figure something out. But because I didn't listen to what others were saying, and I really just trusted my gut and thought about the commitment that I made to myself, I realized that I needed to go out there on my own and discover this on my own. And that's exactly what I did. It was when you are prepared and you have all your equipment, and there's nothing more to it. And it was wonderful. Like, I just getting past that part of my journey of like not letting others' opinions tell you what you can and cannot do. And that led me to like, oh shoot. Like, I felt that much stronger because I let one little thing not get to me, and I just kept going. And so the more I started walking during like the winter months, and like, I've overly prepared, right? Wearing so many layers, heavy coat, all these things. And I just thought to myself, like, I can't even feel anything anymore. Like, this is too easy. And so then I started taking off layers, and then I could feel, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is exactly what I needed. Because when things got easy, it was like, okay, I'm not enjoying it as much because like I am on a challenge and I want to be challenged, whatever that looks like. And for me, it was like one little challenge I got over, and then I added another challenge, and I added another challenge. And that was like the most beautiful part about 75 hard for me, was that I kept stacking challenges within the challenge, because I started to get very comfortable, and I started to get very complacent, and I didn't want to stay there because I knew that my end goal was to try hard things. And so that was something that I learned along the way. And one of the other things that really made me open my eyes in the 75 hard is the photo. I don't like taking photos of my body. Like, that's just not, like, I just never really have. And so I try to get away from it, but I realized it was the one thing that actually made me see the progress that I didn't see before. I could feel it, but I couldn't see it. But there was one day I remember like getting out of the shower, and like, I'm a mom of 4. I have a pouch, and that pouch has been there for like years. I mean, like, lots of years. And so it covers things, and so like, I couldn't see certain parts of my body. And so there was one day I looked down and I was like, oh my gosh, my body, like, it was shifting, it was changing. And I was like, I don't remember the last time I had this body. It was like so weird, but so cool. But then I looked down closely, and I looked at my belly button, and then there was this like mark, like an X right in the belly button. And it instantly brought me back to 2004 when Sully and I were in Seattle the first time. And I had started getting pain, cramps, and I didn't know what they were. Got back into town, took a pregnancy test, and sure enough, I was pregnant. And during that time, um, I thought about getting an abortion because I was not married, and I just assumed my parents would kill me, my sisters, my brothers. Um, and so I didn't want to even think about having a baby because that wasn't even an option. So, anyways, I called Planned Parenthood, and before I got off the phone, I said, "But I have this like pain that it's like it keeps coming and I don't know what it is." And so the person over the phone was like, "You need to go see an OB." And I was like, "What the heck is an OB? I don't know what that is." And at the time, there's Yellow Pages, so the first place that I saw, I called it. And so Sully and I go to the ultrasound room. And again, I've never been pregnant, so like I didn't know what to expect. And when I was in the room, I noticed a tech. Her face was kind of like not, didn't look happy like the movies. So that's how I read that something was not right. And during that time, because we heard the heartbeat, Sully and I looked at each other and were like, "We're keeping this baby. Like, I'm going to face my family. Like, I'm not going to, that's not even an option for us." And so we get into the room, and the doctor tells us that I have an ectopic pregnancy. I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know my body parts. Okay, like literally, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I think I was 21, and I didn't know what. I mean, everything she was saying was over my head, except that I might die. And I don't know why I just heard, and she didn't use those exact words, but like that's what I translated to. And they had to rush me to the OR and have an emergency surgery. And I was out for a very long time. And I remember not even like telling anybody except for my niece Pana and my childhood friend Sokara. Those are the only people that I told. And my brother worked at the hospital at the time, and I didn't understand like how the process was. So I was like, "Oh, he's gonna see my name. He's gonna know. I can't have that." So then I asked if we could if there's a way we could put a private name for me, and they were able to do something like that. I just don't remember, but. And that was something I kind of kept to myself for a very long time, and I never really shared it. I did unpack it last year. I made a video very similar to this, and I said it out loud. And that honestly helped me process what I went through. And even hearing myself talk now, like I'm not even crying. When I talked about it last year, lots of tears, because again, it was my first time processing like what I had gone through that I hid from everyone because I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, and to release that feeling has really opened up this part of me that has been kind of weighing myself down. So when I went through that experience, and I buried it for a long time, doing the 75 hard brought it all right back. And what's so crazy is that 75 hard brought all of my experiences with pregnancy back. I started to realize that every feeling that I felt all related back to my labor and delivery. So with Sullivan, my oldest, I had a C-section under just regular anesthesia where I was awake for it. Maxwell, my second son, I had a VBAC and I had an epidural. And then my third one, I had another VBAC, but with no epidural. And then the fourth one, Valentina, was an emergency C-section. And that emergency C-section happened to be the same doctor that actually saved my life in 2004. And I had not seen her because it was another doctor that became my doctor, my primary. And so I never got to see her. And when I had to have another emergency procedure done, she was the first person I saw in that operation room that told me everything's going to be okay and that she's going to get our daughter out, and which is Valentina. So the full circle moments all came rushing back to me a lot, and I remember thinking when I couldn't feel, um, that was how I felt when I had Maxwell. Like when they're like, "Hey, you need to push," I'm like, I can't feel anything. Like the epidural is like so like good that I can't even feel anything. And so I remember thinking too, like for Campbell, like I didn't really make that decision at first. Sully just said to me, "Hey, you have an incompetent cervix, so like it's already gonna open on its own. So like, do you want to try like giving natural birth?" And I was like, and this is while we're like about to give birth. And I was like, hell no, like, are you crazy? And then he's like, it's up to you. I just wanted to give you that option. And then I was like, you are right. Yeah, I'll try it. And then, oh my gosh, I could feel everything. And I was like, I need to take a shit. And, and then the nurse was like, no, 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 baby, you're going to be delivering a baby. Like you're delivering. I was like, oh my gosh, so that's what it feels like when you need to deliver. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, I should have went with the epidural. This is not what I wanted to feel. But it lasted so short, although it felt like eternity for me. But the moment that he was born and knowing when to actually push made me feel like I was able to overcome something that normally, like my whole life, I've been told what I should be doing and what I need to be doing. And I just went along with it. And with this, it was like, I did that. Like I felt the contractions. I felt all the hard work that I just put in, and I'm having this baby. I mean, I can't, it was a surreal feeling. And then like to be able to recover so much faster than the other ones, I was like, I love this. And then I thought about Sullivan's, like I didn't plan on having a C-section, but it led me there. And guess what I thought about that? It wasn't as bad as what I've heard and seen from people. And, that created fear on me because I was only going off of what others were saying. And I really didn't think it was that horrible for me. I can vouch for that. And then like to be able to have 2 VBACs right after, like I feel very grateful that I was able to experience that. And so with Valentina, like to be able to have a successful delivery but also know how close I was to losing her reminded me back of when I lost my daughter Penelope. So, like this walk just made me reflect back on all of my pregnancies, all of my deliveries, and last year I made a video just like this, and it really helped me like really process everything and to really free myself from all these guilt feelings that I've carried for a very long time, and including shame. And I truly believe that if you speak about your experience or write about your experience, I do believe that it is very healing in the sense that it no longer lives in your body, and you get to process it and understand that you were only doing the best with what you knew at the time. So I think in life, I think we have to remember that quite often, that sometimes we just don't know what we're doing. And this allows us grace for ourselves and for others. So when you see someone not being able to do something, if you go a little deeper and think about what their knowledge and their wisdom is, meet them there, and you'll be able to help them grow to the next once you understand that. So, so the 75 hard walk really, really just brought me back to becoming a mom, and I loved it. So then on February 6th, my birthday in 2024, I was turning 41. I'd come back home from my walks from 75 Hard, and Slowly goes, you need to read this book. And I was like, okay. And so I start reading it, and then I was like, I'm going to put that on my calendar, and I'm going to do it on my birthday. And knowing that my son had a wrestling meet that day, and I was like, that means that I need to leave the house at 4 a.m. if I want to make it to my son's, meet. So I did that. Okay, and I'm going to read something that I wrote on February 5th, 2024, which is a day before I did the 12-hour walk. I wrote, being, period, present, period. I just finished my 36 days of my outside workout. When I planned this outdoor workout, I chose to walk with no music, no podcast, no other person, just me and my natural surroundings for 45 minutes to 1 hour a day. The last few weeks, I'd come home and share with my husband what I've learned from each walk. Maybe after 3 weeks of me getting excited about all these things that I've learned, he told me to read The 12-Hour Walk by Colin O'Brady. As I read it, I realized Colin and I came up with the same theory from our walking in solitude and life experiences. Now I know why Sully insisted I read it. I'm doing another challenge within the challenge after reading that book. I have my 12-hour walk scheduled in my calendar on my 41st birthday. I've shared with some friends and family that I was planning when they asked what I was doing for my birthday. Yes, they think I'm crazy, but they are cheering me on. I've never been so present in my life until I started walking in solitude with nothing to chase but to just be. Today I heard the ice cracking and the birds chirping, smelled the burn fire, saw the rising sun, and felt the cold and got a taste that I will enjoy my 12-hour walk tomorrow. The simplest things became the luxury things once again in my life. That just makes me just so proud of myself. And then I want to read something else that I wrote on February 8th, 2024. So 2 days after my walk. This morning I went on a solo 1-hour walk where it was dark and windy. I never knew I would love that much wind in the winter. I could feel it run through my entire body and I loved every feeling of it. Since my 12-hour walk on my 41st birthday, I learned that it wasn't as scary and dark to go further in my walk than my normal route. I used to think scary thoughts beyond this particular spot, so I would never go past it. On my 12-hour walk, I found a new spot where I enjoy sitting and watching the sky light up. It's such a profound feeling of watching our world unfold, going from dark to light. Today on my walk back home, I heard a new sound as I thought of another Mount Everest I wanted to climb. A sound I haven't heard in a very long time. It was the sound of multiple wind chimes. It felt like a light bulb switch turned on for me, and the wind chime sound was cheering me on that I was on the right path. I had major goosebumps. I was thinking, how am I possibly going to unpack my experience into writing a blog? People were wanting to know my experience. People had lots of questions. Something overcame me and said I needed to write a book with the intention of turning it into a movie. I have the power to have representation for people like me. I'm so many roles in one. I am relatable and real. The plan was so clear. I recorded myself speaking it into the universe on my exact intentions, which I need to go back and read or watch. Then I looked at my watch and it was 6:22 a.m. and all of my numbers on the workout app ended in 22. Of course, I instantly looked up the meaning of 22. I rushed home and couldn't wait to share this with Sully because his number was also 22, just Sully 22. Signs, so many signs. Me. Sully, what does the number 22 mean to you? Because you use it all the time. Me waiting for a magical and whimsical response. Sully, it's a Glock 22. Ha 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 ha. Me, what up? Sully, 22 was also my football jersey number, but the number is really for the Glock 22. We're two different people, okay? I can't with him. He always brings me from la la land to reality. But this goal of mine is no longer in la la land. It's going straight to work. Super ironic that 2 years ago, I also committed to do the 75 hard challenge with some of the people in my brokerage. I didn't make it far. In actuality, I thought I made it X amount of days, but now I realize that I didn't even make it the first day. I skipped the little thing, taking a daily photo. That actually was the big thing. I was too scared to see what I was working with, so I just skipped that part. I've learned a lot about this one simple step that I will share later, which I kind of shared. A production company found Sully and I on Instagram in late 2021 when we were not looking to be on TV at all. Everything went so fast that we didn't have time to fully understand what was going on. An opportunity fell on our laps to have our own TV show on HGTV. They sent a showrunner that has worked on many TV shows to our home and a camera crew on the first day of my 75 hard challenge to film a proof of concept. Prior to that, we were in many meetings that got the approval to shoot the proof of concept. It was a wild experience, and I will unpack that too someday. That experience rocked mine and Sully's boat. We were the only proof of concept that didn't get a yes or a no. The executives loved us together, but they weren't sure of the concept. They came back to us again last year to try to figure something out. At this point, I've decided I did not want this show, but I thank them for the opportunity because I began working on myself. I was very grateful that this opportunity shook our relationship up, and I'm also happy that it wasn't done on camera for the world to see. I wanted us to be the narrator of our journey. We got asked to speak at Grandview College a few months back, and one girl raised her hand and said, "You guys should have your own TV show." They were the first group we showed the proof of concept to besides our family. Then a boy raised his hand and said, my story about myself reminded him of this Disney character that was afraid of taking risks. I wish I would have written it down, but I did look it up that day, and the character was me to the exact. I have to find her because when I did look her up, I was like, that's me in a cartoon character. So fearful. It's wild how everything happens for a reason, good or bad. What we take away from it is what truly matters, and what we do with it next is up to us. We are in control of our own goals. We are in control of our own actions. We are in control of our own future. As we wait for my book to be completed, please send me any questions you may have, and I will randomly answer them. Thank you so much for following my journey, and I hope it inspires you to start small and make moves. Love, B. P.S. Facebook has been my home to share my thoughts and experiences, so I'm excited to read this and see where I'm at a year from now. I definitely didn't read it back in February of this year, so it's really cool to read this and like see where I'm going. Nothing's really changed because my goals are very similar still. It takes a little bit, you know? And then on February 9th, 2024, so the day after that experience, I wrote this, and I want to share it with you because it goes a little bit in details about my family's journey. My 12-hour walk on my birthday took me to places I don't visit often. I sat in the dark on a bench for the first 30 minutes of my walk, crying, thinking about my parents' journey. My mom was 43 and my dad was 48 when I was born. They just moved to a new world a year before I was born. My mom was advised to abort me because of the risk due to her age. She refused to listen. She lost 3 sons, ages 2, 8, 10, all within a month of each other, in 1978 during the war due to malnutrition. She described to me that kid soldiers came to drag her deceased babies away. She never got to bury them. Her tears rolled down her cheeks as she shared this story with me. On my first trip back to Cambodia when I was 18, she showed me the area where she remembered to have been during that time. I don't think I understood her pain at that time. Now that I am a mother, I see her in a different light. I come from a family full of girls, but ironically, I have 3 boys and 1 daughter. My mom got to help me raise my 3 boys. I know I was supposed to be born to this incredible woman that is wise, resilient, strong, and full of love and life. Wow, that just made me tear up because we've experienced very similar things. Like when Penelope was born, a guilt that I had was that I didn't have a memorial for her, nor did I attend the one that the hospital had for everyone. And that ate me up for a very long time. And, I've accepted the fact that I only did with what I knew at the time. And I've been able to honor her in a different light by sharing my stories, growing this garden that I have, that when I'm out there, I'm able to really connect with her in so many ways. And also in the way that I raise my children, I know that they're such a gift and I don't take a day for granted with them. So I I've learned that you can honor your losses in so many different ways, and I am very happy with the way that I'm doing it. So it just took me a while to really unpack what I went through and process it all. And I'm very grateful that my mom is still alive here with me and living with me and being able to kind of share our experiences and see it from a different angle than when it was. Like, I remember when I lost Penelope, I was so mad at my mom. So being able to see her in a different light and a different perspective from mine has been able to connect us so deeply. And I'm very grateful for that. And then one more reading that I'm going to read to you. This is February 12th, 2024. When I did my 12-hour walk last week, the county was doing a contained burn at the lake. The wood fire smell reminded me of being in Cambodia for the first time. I instantly thought about my trips back to Cambodia and my family's journey here to America. My 12-hour walk was nothing compared to the walking they had to do during the war. My personal journey took me back to my family's journey. I began to feel their pain, their gratitude, their love, their strength, their resilience, their everything. They paved the way, and I'm forever grateful for their sacrifice. So, all of what I went through puts everything to a different perspective. I thought I was dying. All these things I was scared of. And it takes me back into a moment in time that I didn't get to live, but because I was so present, and I was able to feel the connection of my family's roots all to me. And I started to pick up the pieces and put them back into the puzzle. And I think this whole challenge for me has been that the whole time was I thought I was actually doing a discipline thing, because I'm not disciplined. I can never follow through. I can never finish things through. But it was this mental work of understanding that fear is always going to be there, but the more you face your fears, the less scary it will be. And the less scary life is, the more you can actually live a fulfilled life and find purpose in everything you do. You don't waste a single second. You just don't. And it just takes one small step. And you stack it, and you stack it, and you stack it. And then the more you know, the better you do. And that's growth. And so that was really refreshing to share with you guys that story. There was one more thing I want to tell you about. So when I sat there, I was crying on the bench, and it was dark still. A car pulls up, and I was start wiping my tears, and I got scared. I'm not gonna lie, and I walked away from where I was sitting, and avoiding this unknown car. And then I was like, you know what? I've seen solely at our house, if someone's on the private lot next to us that's not ours, he'll ask hey, is there something I can help you with? Is there a reason why you're here? He says it in a nice, calm manner, but he's assertive about it. So then I was like, what would Sully do? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn around and I'm going to just ask, hey, are you here walking too? And then it was a soft voice, a lady's voice. And she goes, yeah, I walk here every day in the morning for the last 8 years. And as I heard her soft voice, I was like, okay, it's safe to walk up to her because I could see the shadows of her. And we started talking, and she was telling me everything. She started telling me who I was going to run to on my walk, who has a dog, who walks, who runs. It was like an angel was sent to me and was like, don't be scared. I walk it every day. There's nothing to be scared about. Well, her name is Dory. Her and I are friends now. So I don't always walk in that time frame anymore, but when I do, usually in the winters, I go back out there, and I love being out during that time. She is retired. I think she's in her 60s, but man, we're buddies. we have a lot in common. And I think a lot of it is because our parents are actually the same age, and she lost both of her parents, and we've been able to talk about losses in our lives and why we enjoy being outside in nature and coming in the dark. And she too has people that tells her that she needs to not do that because there's so many scary things out there and it's not safe. And she's like, no, I love it. It calms me. It allows me to reset. That's the same thing for me too. And I encourage you to try walking. Walk in uncomfortable temperatures, even. So if you don't like walking in the heat, walk in the heat. If you don't like walking in the cold, walk in the cold. It is very, very fulfilling to do uncomfortable things and hard things. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I hope that you're able to take away some lessons. I will pull some lessons as I go back to listen to this, and I will share them onto an Instagram post and also a blog post. So thank you again for joining me on episode 4, Mom and Co. Thank you. Bye.